By 9 o'clock on Christmas morning, my parents had already lost hundreds of dollars. My brother was arguing with my sister. 7 kids were turning the house upside down, and my phone wouldn't stop ringing. The strange part was that none of it had to happen. All they had to do was ask one simple question. Instead, they decided my holiday belonged to them because I was single. So while they searched every room for me, I was sipping a drink beside a pool thousands of miles away. For as long as I could remember, my family had decided I was the reliable one. While my older siblings built families of their own, I poured everything into my career, often working 60-hour weeks just to stay ahead. By the time Christmas finally arrived, I was completely exhausted. All I wanted was a few quiet days to rest. My parents' house was supposed to be a place where I could recharge. Instead, it reminded me that in their eyes, being single did not mean I deserved a break. It meant I was permanently available whenever everyone else wanted to relax. My mother never asked whether I had plans or needed time for myself. She simply assumed my holiday belonged to the family. 7 days before Christmas, I was unpacking in the guest room when voices drifted through the heating vent from the kitchen. My mother was chatting with my brother and sister about the holiday schedule. In the most casual tone imaginable, she announced that I would watch all 7 children while everyone else enjoyed the spa, dinner, and wine tasting. Nobody questioned the plan because nobody thought they needed my permission. My brother laughed that I had nothing better to do, since I did not have a husband or children. My sister agreed, and my mother called it only fair. Standing there in complete silence, I realized they were not treating me like family. They were treating me like free childcare they had already booked without asking. Over the next few days, my silence convinced everyone their plan was working. My mother started handing me grocery lists and casually mentioning breakfast for the kids, never waiting for an answer because she believed one wasn't necessary. My sister shared a detailed holiday schedule in the family group chat, assigning me a full day of babysitting while the adults enjoyed spa appointments and dinner reservations. My brother even thanked me in advance for giving them a well-deserved break. Every new assumption made them more confident. They had built their perfect Christmas around my unpaid time, completely unaware that I had already chosen a very different holiday. That was the moment I stopped thinking about changing their minds. They had already decided what my Christmas would look like. So I decided to change my location instead. I booked a non-refundable trip to a beachfront resort, requested the week off from work, packed my suitcase after everyone went to bed, and set my alarm before sunrise. The best part was that I never had to argue or refuse, because they had never actually asked me to babysit. Their entire plan depended on an agreement that existed only in their own minds. Before sunrise on Christmas Eve, I quietly loaded my suitcase into the car and drove to the airport without waking anyone. By the time my family gathered for breakfast, I was already halfway to a beachfront resort, finally enjoying the peaceful holiday I had spent the entire year earning. A few hours later, my phone lit up with missed calls and frantic messages. I answered only after settling into a lounge chair beside the pool. My mother immediately demanded to know where I was, because everyone had already dropped off the children and their spa reservation was about to start. I calmly told her I was on vacation and wished them a Merry Christmas. The line went silent for a moment before panic erupted in the background. When she asked who was supposed to watch the kids, I simply replied, "The people who chose to have them." Then I ended the call. In that instant, every reservation, every schedule, and every assumption collapsed under one unavoidable truth. They had built their perfect Christmas around a promise I had never made. By the time I turned my phone back on, their carefully planned Christmas had completely unraveled. The spa reservations were wasted, expensive bookings went unused, and the adults spent the holiday arguing over who would take responsibility for the children they had expected me to watch. For the first time, they experienced the stress they had always assumed I would quietly absorb. They finally understood that my time had value, and that treating it like a free family resource came with consequences. When I returned home after the holiday, I made one thing perfectly clear. If anyone ever tried to volunteer my time without asking again, I simply would not be there. That conversation changed our family dynamic for good. Sometimes the strongest boundary is not an argument. It is quietly refusing to participate. Tell me, would you have booked that flight or would you have stayed to keep the peace? Let me know in the comments, and I'll see you in the next story.